Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Road Coach Podcast, the show where I share what I've learned from years of living on the road through research and experimentation, so that if you're like me and you spend a lot of time away from home, you can not only survive but thrive, even when you are out of your element. You are listening to this show on your favorite podcasting app. Thank you for doing so, and please share this episode with your friends and loved ones if you like what you hear. The more people that listen, the more we are able to make these shows. And of course, check out our YouTube page, youtube.com/@the-road-coach-podcast, where you can see everything that I have on the screen as we're going along. And comment and leave suggestions for future episodes and topics, and or suggest guests. We're going to start having guests on the show fairly soon, other working travelers, to get their opinions on what life is like on the road, what they do to keep stable and healthy and to thrive while they are away from home. So on this episode, I wanted to take a little bit of a different tack than I normally do. Rather than talking about a specific nutrition or fitness guide or tactic or anything like that I use while I'm traveling, I wanted to talk just a little bit about what happens when travel becomes too much. Because I think I'm on day 13 away from home right now. It's late at night in my hotel room and I'm drained. I am overwhelmed. I am stressed. And I cannot wait to get back home at this point. And I had a few things happen this week that kind of felt like everything was crumbling down around me. And I think that for those of us that travel a lot, this happens periodically, where nothing seems to go our way and we're exhausted and we're short with people, or we're not giving 100% to whatever we're there to do, because we're thinking about home or we're thinking about what we would rather be doing. And, it's not necessarily fair to our colleagues or our customers, or even to our family if we're short with them, especially when we're not around. But it's a reality that when we spend so many days out of a suitcase in hotels and on planes and not eating the best food and working way too long or way too many hours in a day, it catches up with you after a while. And there's only so much that we can handle. And I think it's important to talk about it as road warriors, what we do to handle that. And so, without getting into too many specifics, essentially, I lost a good portion of my plans for the future when it comes to team effectiveness, let's say. And a bunch of things happened at the same time. And we're in the middle of a major, I think I mentioned it a couple episodes ago. I'm in Calgary, Alberta right now, and we're in the middle of one of the biggest business opportunities we've ever faced as an organization, and with a product line that I am in charge of managing and growing. And although it is an exciting opportunity, it is also a massive lift for our company and for me personally. And there's a lot of pressure to succeed that I put on myself. And so when things don't go as planned, it's very easy to get discouraged and wonder if everything's worth it all the time. And it got me thinking that a few years ago, a similar set of circumstances probably would have caused me to react a much different way. And in focusing on what I know I need to be healthy in terms of nutrition and habits and exercise and planning ahead, and making sure that I'm nourishing my relationships, has enabled me to be in a place now where I can handle it without going off the rails or without giving up. or without, complaining about it too much. And I think it's important to put into place a series of habits and practices when you're a road warrior like us to ensure that when things don't go your way, that you can not only handle it but thrive in those situations and come out a better person, whatever that means to you. So today I just wanted to talk, a little bit of a insight into what I'm going through, but also to talk about what I think we can all do to help us deal with these inevitable situations of when travel just becomes overwhelming for whatever reason, whether it's been too long, or the work schedules are too hectic, or everything you thought would happen fell apart and your plans have completely changed in the blink of an eye. And for me, this trip is very hectic. I'm up at 5 a.m. I'm at a hospital by 6:45, and I typically don't get back to my hotel room till 6 o'clock at night. And then I have enough time to eat and maybe work out quickly and hopefully talk to my family, and then it's to bed to do it all over again. And we're, like I said, I think it's 13 days now we're going on of that. And I've noticed that it's time for me to take a break. I need to rest, right? I need to get home. I need to recharge. And thankfully, I've got a week of no travel coming up, which is great. I can focus on me and focus on rest and focus on all the things that I need to catch up on, that these evaluations for me end up, having to sideline other initiatives because I'm just so ingrained in the customer experience day to day for hours and hours that things naturally have to get put on the back burner until there's time to deal with them. So I'm very grateful that I'm going home tomorrow, or today when you'll be listening, when this is published. But these are a couple of things that I've noticed that I think can help a lot of people out there when you start to feel overwhelmed on the road. And the first one is listening to your body. I have come to realize over the past number of years that your body tells you when something's not right, long before you know it intellectually or before you can put it into words. If you are feeling physically drained, or if you're getting sick, or if you're feeling sore, or if you're just tired or your head is foggy, your body is trying to tell you something. There's a really good book, actually, and I can't remember the author offhand, but it's called Your Body Keeps the Score. And it's all about the manifestations in your body of different stressors. And often by the time sickness or disease comes into or manifests itself in your life, your body's been trying to tell you something needs to change for some time. And so this is one of those days today where I can tell it's time to go home. And thankfully, I am going home tomorrow, and I'm going to have that time to relax and recoup, and reprioritize to deal with some of these problems that I'm now facing after this week. But if you're like me, realize when your body is telling you you need to change something, do it before it gets to the point where you get sick, or you make bad decisions, or you lash out at people, because your body will give you the information that you need to make the changes in your life that will be beneficial to you in the future. The second thing is, if you're in this situation, reach out to those people you trust. I immediately had conversations with, upper level management in my organization, close friends, family, people that I know will help me keep my head on straight when I feel like I'm driving 100 miles an hour towards a brick wall. And so I've had, over the past 2 or 3 days, where I've had a lot to deal with, I've spent a lot more time talking to people whose opinion I trust and whose advice I care about, to not only sort of walk me off the ledge or walk me back from the ledge, but to make me realize that I can get through this, because they listen to it from an outsider's perspective. And that's been really, really helpful for me. Also, asking for advice. When you face unforeseen circumstances, especially ones that you've never dealt with before, and especially ones that you feel you are responsible for solving effectively, but you're in uncharted waters, reach out to people who've gone through it. I found this, especially this week, to be a massive godsend, to just ask people that have been through this before what they would do in this situation. And it's not so that anyone can decide for you, because there are certain things when you're responsible for them that ultimately the buck stops with you. Sorry, it's the saying I'm looking for. But knowing what they did and what they liked about the decision they made and what they would have done differently can be a really good North Star to follow when you are trying to make a very important decision and manage communication and messaging around how that decision is perceived by your team, by your customer, by everybody else around you that might be affected by it. So I encourage you, if you're in this situation, reach out to those you trust and ask for advice from those who have been through the situation as well. And then spend time meditating on your options. I don't necessarily like the word meditating. I wish I chose a different word, because meditation is all over the internet these days, and some people don't. I think some people assume that meditation, is sitting cross-legged, repeating mantras and listening to your breath. And while that is absolutely great and necessary in, I think, everyone's life for a lot of reasons, what I mean by meditating is considering the possible outcomes of your decisions and trying to understand what you want to get out of your decisions moving forward. What is the best case scenario? What is the worst case scenario? And then what's the middle of the road most likely thing to happen based on the different choices or paths that you choose? And spending some real time considering these options and even talking them out with people that you trust. For me anyways, it helps me understand that the situation is definitely not nearly as drastic as you think it is. And there is a path through this to come out on top. And yet, oftentimes when we face uncertain circumstances, we catastrophize the outcomes and we assume everything is going to go to shit right away. And often that's not the case. But when we react rather than reflect and meditate on what our decisions could lead to, we end up making the wrong decision because we're reacting out of fear or stress or chaos rather than a measured desire for what we want to get out of the situation. So if you face these situations where you're overwhelmed and you feel like you have no options, spend some time thinking about what decisions will lead to what likely outcomes before you do anything. And then rest, recharge, reset, and react. And so for me, that's what's happening tomorrow. I'm going home, spending the weekend with my family. Got a few days where I can work from home before I travel again. And it's time to spend some time on me. Think about these options moving forward and what I'm going to do to ensure that my business succeeds through all of this, that my team is healthier through all of this, happier through all of this, feels more fulfilled through all of this, and how we all grow as people to become stronger, to become a more cohesive unit, and to achieve even bigger goals and understand that we can deal with adversity no matter what strikes in our day-to-day lives. And so that's it. I just wanted to do a bit of a public therapy session, it sounds like. But I hope that, if you face similar situations where travel just becomes overwhelming and you need a break, that you talk this out, that you listen to your body and understand when you need time, and that you spend the time reflecting on what the best decision is to make when you're faced with uncertain circumstances, so that you don't just react out of fear or out of stress, because God forbid you make a rash decision and regret it later. Take that time to reflect. I hope this episode was helpful for you. As always, thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing our episodes. If there are certain topics you would like to hear, please comment on your favorite podcasting app, or comment on our YouTube page. Comment on this episode. Let us know what you like, what you don't like, what you'd like to hear more of at another time. Please check us out on patreon.com/The Road Coach Podcast. Any support you can give to keep us making these episodes, I am happy to keep doing them, as long as you are happy to keep listening to them. As always, if you're like me and you spend most of your life on the road, I hope you're not only surviving, but thriving, even when you are out of your element.